Welcome to Subramani. I've done very many videos on risk, so one more video for you. There is something called a visible risk and an invisible risk, and a fast risk and a slow risk, right? So visible risk and invisible risk is more easy, I think, for people to understand. Saying when there is risk, sometimes you can't see it. And it takes a long time for you to realize that you have been hurting yourself or you have been hurting your portfolio by doing wrong deeds. Okay, now let us look at fast risk and slow risk. Fast risk is the impact of which is immediate, right? Riding a car without a seat belt and hitting somebody, hitting something and having an accident and having grievous injuries, right? Today you have to wear your seat belt even in the back seat thanks to a very bad accident in a very good car. But that obviously caused people saying, okay, now you should wear your seat belt in the back seat also, right? The risk was not visible earlier. I don't know, but we never saw that risk, right? Now, there are certain other risks. Typically, if you're attending a wedding in Delhi, right, and you're a Bharati, there's a good chance that you're walking on the road and some people are carrying guns, right? It's not impossible to find. Even when you're driving, you find the Bharat going on, and especially in North India, you will find some people carrying guns. What is the risk? The risk is one guy who's a little tipsy takes a gun and without realizing he shoots and he kills somebody, right? There have been times when the groom has been killed because of this. That risk is visible, right? So what risk in the same wedding, what risk is not visible is the 4,000 people eating wrong food, right? Maybe it takes 5 minutes of everybody's life, that is 20,000 minutes reduced from the collective life of so many people. Is that risk visible? Answer is no, it is never visible. The rich food that you eat, which you don't digest, which creates problems of the hangover and things like that, especially as you get older. And people saying, oh, you must eat, this is so good, fantastic, blah blah blah. So the overeating risk, is that risk visible? Answer is no. Does it come the next day? No. Or the risk of heroin versus tobacco, right? Heroin risk is more immediate, especially if you get an overdose, you're dead, right? Does the same thing happen when you consume more sugar? Yes, but it takes time. Or more tobacco. 20 years is what tobacco takes for somebody to develop lung cancer, may not even develop lung cancer. I had an uncle who started smoking maybe at the age of 15 and never gave up. He died at the age of 67. So did he develop any cancers or anything? No. Was he a big smoker? Yes, 1 pack a day kind of a smoker. And I do not know towards the end of his life whether he had reduced. So he would keep saying, I want to reduce, but I don't think he ever gave up. So let us say he started at 15 and he died at 70. So you're talking of 55 years of smoking. Look at the amount of cigarettes that he has smoked. Did it kill him? No. So is the death by consuming tobacco visible? Is the death or is the ill health by consuming sugar visible? The answer is no. So you keep consuming. So what am I trying to drive at? I'm trying to say that if you keep money in cash, right, there is no immediate risk. There is no immediate risk at all. Even after 1 year, your 100 rupees is worth 93 rupees. The impact doesn't seem to be great. But what happens after 30 years? After 30 years, it's very scary that this 100 rupees will have just no value at all, right? It would have completely eroded in value. Maybe it will be worth 20 rupees or 30 rupees, and that's what it would be over a 30-year period, simply because it has got eroded in value in terms of inflation. Can anybody ever blame you for keeping money in cash? Answer is no. It says no, he didn't want to take any risk, so he kept all his money in cash, or he kept all his money in government securities, right? And he was paying tax on that very loyally. So 7% return, 30% tax gone, so about 5% return, 5% effective real return. Inflation 8%. How much did you lose? 3% every year. Now take the case of investing in equities. Suppose you had invested in a technology fund which invested in a few companies in Israel, right? So the Hamas attacks Israel, and the prices in Israel fall. Israel market opens 20% lower, right? Obviously your fund is done badly, so your fund also opens lower, maybe only 2% lower or 1.5% lower. But then somebody tells you, see, I told you, don't put money in equities. Equities versus cash is a question of fast risk and slow risk. I keep saying this in my class also, because everybody says, oh, equity is risky, debt is not risky. Completely wrong. Equity is risky in the short run. If you put it on Monday and you think by Friday it's going to go up, or you need that money after 15 days and you put money in equity and then the market is down, it is not that the equity markets are risky. It is that you did not know how the equity market works. It is your fault, right? So when you have money for 20 years, 30 years, whatever, anything more than 10 years, you should be looking at equity. When you have money for 2 months, 3 months, or even 10 months, you should be looking only at debt, especially, maybe a bank fixed deposit or a RD or anything like that is also fine, but don't have to go to equity. So understanding that there is a fast risk and a slow risk is important, because we have minds which are not developed over 10,000 years, or it is developing slowly. I heard somebody say that we have minds of the Stone Age era, we have medieval institutions, and we have very fast moving technology. It is the same brain which saw a tiger far away or a deer far away, didn't know what it was, and climbed up the tree. Then it turned out to be a deer. He said, oh God, why did I go up? And his friend said, no, better safe than sorry, right? Today that is not true. You need to know how to take risk. You need to know how to manage risk, because the most important thing is the avoiding fast risk is the best way or the worst way to deplete your portfolio, because the asset classes like real estate, REIT, which is a derivative of real estate, equities, equity mutual funds, gold, these could have very high standard deviation and very good returns in the long run, but it could also have a high standard deviation and a very low return. Like in case of gold, gold may be a decent hedge in a portfolio if it is about 5%. Anything above 5% in gold is you are inviting risk, because gold gives you the standard deviation of equity and the return of debt. Okay, so be careful about where you are investing. You cannot ignore fast risk and slow risk. You need to understand both. You need to understand that because you did not see that risk is not there, nor are you worried as to what people will think, right? So there are people who say, no, what will people think? Why should I put so much money in equity and lose it? Yes, of course, if you put in wrong equity, you could lose it day after tomorrow. If you put it in right equity, maybe your index fund or some well managed mutual funds, or creating your own direct equity portfolio, all these things may not necessarily mean losses, right? But staying on in cash for a very long period of time is a guarantee that you will lose money to inflation. Be careful. Understanding all these parts of risk is important in your investment journey. Don't think like a Stone Age man for risk, because the Stone Age man did not have to think about slow risk. He had to only think about fast risk. Thank you.